Hey over there, Joe Lunchbox. And today we've landed right here in Gilmanton, New Hampshire, to tell you about the birthplace of Herman Webster Mudgett. You might not know that name. You might know it better as HH Holmes, a man labeled America's first serial killer. Now we're here to tell you a little bit about his childhood, because in this town, like I said, is his birthplace. So you could be a judge. Does someone become a serial killer because they've always been messed up in the head? Or is it someone's upbringing, their childhood, that makes them a little sociopath? And that's what we're going to discuss with you today. Hopefully you are interested in this type of thing. It is a little bit darker subject matter than we usually cover. We cover roadside attractions usually, oddities, kitsch, giant statues, stuff like that. But this was an interesting subject. But if this might not be what you're into, but one of those over 500 other videos might be what you're into. So if this is for you, you don't have to watch it. But there are over 500 other videos you can watch. And that's why we'd appreciate if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, if you do that now. If you are into this kind of thing, you could like this video, comment down below. What serial killer are you interested in learning more about? But I think it's time to do this. Step it up. Let's go for this ride. Now, maybe you're not familiar with H.H. Holmes, so let's give you a little backstory. H.H. Holmes was titled America's first serial killer. It was titled. There might have been people that were serial killers before them, but he was the man that got that title. Now, he was born in this town in New Hampshire in 1861. Once he left New Hampshire, he did some petty crimes, some fraud, some insurance things. But it wasn't until the big crime started in 1892. He was in Chicago and he built what people call the Murder Castle, which was sort of like a hotel for people coming to the World's Columbian Exposition, which was like a World's Fair in Chicago. It happened in 1893. So he built this building in 1892. They had all these secret passage, tunnels. Some rooms were a gas chamber. So when people were coming to the World's Fair, they needed a spot to stay. And Holmes used this as a spot to get victims, which he tortured, slaughtered, did some fraud with, stole all their money, and all around was a bad guy. He ended up having a business partner who he killed some of the kids of the business partner, so we finally got him caught. He was executed in the city of Brotherly Love, Philadelphia. Before he was executed, he admitted to killing 27 people. They're saying now it might have been way more, judging from remains that were found at what was the Murder Castle in Chicago. Now, we're here to say, what makes a man a killer, though? The building that stands before us, 500 Province Road, is H.H. Holmes' birthplace. Now, H.H. Holmes, like we said, was born Herman Webster Mudgett on May 16th, 1861. Herman was born to Levi Horton Mudgett and Theodat Page Price, right here in Gilmanton. His mother was described as cold, distant, who used religion as a daily guide to parenting. Now, you could say that could be good, that could be bad, but her being cold, it wasn't good. His father, though, was an alcoholic who followed a strict disciplinary abuse. What I'm trying to get to here is both parents used mental and physical abuse to raise H.H. Holmes, and he did have siblings, and they used the same abuse to help raise these kids. Now, H.H. Holmes' father sometimes used very severe forms of his version of discipline. Now, this consisted of prolonged isolation and even food deprivation. Now, this wasn't just two Holmes. Holmes did have siblings, and these were used on all the children in the house. Now, so much so that even if the kids would cry and would cause problems, his father, it is rumored to have held a kerosene-soaked cloth over their mouths to stop them from crying. And that makes you really think, what makes a serial killer? if the father abusing the kids, did that mess up Herman's young brain? That's very hard. That strictness, that power. Now he took that, and his escape was he would run to the woods. Now, when you hear about sociopaths, it's always rumored that a lot of sociopaths, or not, maybe not rumored, stated that a lot of sociopaths at a young age resort to killing little animals. Now, H.H. Holmes did do this. When he would run to the woods, he started by killing little reptiles. He moved up to rabbits and other small mammals, and even was said to have killed the dog. Now, some people say this was him being a sociopath. Some people say since his father abused him so much, he felt he was powerless, and this was him gaining power over these little innocent animals. Could it be both, is my question. Could he have started being obsessed, and this was the start of the serial killer? But could he also have wanted that power because he never had it at home? But all we do know is it was a hard upbringing for young Herman. It might not just be H.H. Holmes's upbringing at home that influenced him later in life to be a killer. The building that stands before us is now some Gilmanton town offices, but before it was the Gilmanton Academy. H.H. Holmes did attend the Gilmanton Academy, not particularly this building. The building he attended school in burnt down in 1894, and the structure that stands in front of us was built in 1894. He would have been here way before 1894. But where this building stands was the building that H.H. Holmes attended school in. This school actually would have been a little later. He graduated high school from this school at the age of 16. So where this building stood is where H.H. Holmes went to school. This would have been his high school. Now, H.H. Holmes was a lot of a loner, was an awkward kid. He was very smart, though. He was very fascinated with science. In his junior year, that's what he was specializing in science. Joe actually found some records, and if you see right there, Herman W. Mudgett, and this would have been the male department classical, and there you see scientific. Because he was smart in school, because he was awkward, because he was a loner, he actually got bullied. Now, at one time when he was younger, some of the bullies grabbed him, pulled him into the doctor's office of the school. They took a medical skeleton, because he was afraid of skeletons at that time, and put them all over his face. Now later, Holmes talks that this actually got him fascinated with anatomy and the obsession that would carry on his killing streak for the rest of his life. But it is interesting. Was he always have that killing thing, or was being bullied he felt like he didn't have power, and then later in life he was taking power by being a killer? Now, H.H. Holmes admits to killing those 27 people, but there might actually have been more people than that, like we said, but he might have started way earlier than he said as well. Because when he was an 11-year-old, he did have one friend, a little older than him, a kid named Tom. H.H. Holmes and Tom liked to go explore abandoned buildings. And one day when he was 11, they were exploring an abandoned house. They were on an upper platform in the house, and Tom fell and sadly passed away. Some people say this might be H.H. Holmes' first victim. They said because he was already starting to become fascinated with killing little animals, he might have pushed his friend Tom off that platform, making Tom H.H. Holmes' first victim. Now, it might be true, it might not be true. What is true is Tom did fall, did die, and H.H. Holmes did see it. Figure, he's 11. He's still in elementary school. If he was okay still in the brain, from everything else he dealt with, the bullying, the bad childhood, watching your friend die in front of your face at the age of 11 could mess you up really bad. Mm-hmm. Now, you take, was he already and born evil, or was his upbringing what made him America's first serial killer? Killed all those people. I'm not saying by the time he died, he was an evil man. But what caused that? Was it watching his friends die and being bullied, abuse at home? Or was he just born crazy, born evil, born with this weird obsession with death and killing people? I don't know. But that is the story of HH Holmes. In this town of Gilmanton, his birthplace, his early story, of course. One day we'll get to Chicago. We'll show you where the murder cast is still, tell you more about it. Maybe we'll get to Pennsylvania, talk about his final days, where his grave is, the weirdness around that. But today we were focusing on his birthplace, his early days, his childhood. So I think we could call it.
I think so.
The birthplace of HH Holmes. Been there, done that. Remember, folks, safe travels.
Good evening.
And live life. It's crazy looking at the old building, seeing it was built in 1823.